right, so get ready for this. We're going deep on animal domestication.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. How those furry and feathered friends ended up, well,
On our plates and in our hearts.
Right. And the source material we're looking at dives into the how and the why of certain animals taking up residence with humans.
Yeah, turns out it's a lot more complex than like grabbing a wild animal and being like, stay.
Exactly, yeah.
It's been a real head scratcher for scientists, figuring out where these domesticated animals came from.
Especially those, like, our barnyard buddies, pigs, cows, sheep, like, where'd those guys come from?
Right.
And with all the different animals in the world, you think we'd have way more domesticated species.
You'd think we'd have like a whole zoo full of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the source material points out that it's a pretty exclusive club.
A very small number.
Only about a dozen species throughout history.
Yeah, and that kind of fueled this idea that only certain, like, special animals could be domesticated.
We could have the right stuff, huh?
Right, like, they're docile and social, the typical.
And, well, gotta be kind of cute.
Yes,
Yeah.
the cuteness factor. It's not just a preference.
It's science.
Right. You see, domesticated animals often have what you might call juvenile features.
Floppy ears, short snouts.
Exactly, like that puppy dog vibe. And, well, we humans, we can't resist.
Nope.
And it turns out these traits, they're really tied into this whole domestication thing.
So the source material, it gives us 6 key traits that are commonly found in domesticated animals.
Like a checklist to be part of, welcome to humanity.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, they got to be adaptable to different diets, environments, got to roll with the punches.
Makes sense.
They got to have a decent growth rate. So, not taking forever to mature.
Got to get those results.
Exactly. And really important, they can breed in captivity.
Oh, right. You can't build a partnership if
they're not making more partners.
Exactly. So that all makes sense. But then there's this link back to the cute features.
Right.
It's like we bred them to be, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And that brings us to this pivotal piece of research. It really illuminates this connection.
All right, lay it on me.
The Siberian fox experiment. Back in 1959, in the Soviet Union,
Okay.
some scientists decided to see what would happen if they bred silver foxes for one trait.
One trait.
And one trait only. Friendliness towards humans.
So they were trying to, like, engineer super chummy foxes.
Kind of.
Adorable, but how'd they do that?
So picture this. They started with a population of wild silver foxes.
Okay.
And they split them into 2 groups.
Okay.
One was the control group, just kind of left to do their thing. And the other, the experimental group, well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
They focused on breeding only the tamest foxes. So scientists would approach these foxes, offer them food, see how they react. The foxes that showed the least fear weren't aggressive, maybe even approached willingly.
The friendly ones.
Exactly. Those were the chosen ones for the next generation.
So they were like speed-running natural selection.
Yes.
But with humans calling the shots.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And over 40 years, the results, well, they were unexpected. Well, these friendly foxes, over time, they started to look remarkably different.
Ah.
Their silver black coats, like, typical wild foxes.
Right.
They started changing, becoming more reddish brown, similar to certain dog breeds.
Interesting.
And their ears, they softened and drooped. Tails got curly.
Wait, are you saying?
And their faces, well, they became softer.
They were getting cuter.
Almost dog-like.
Just by picking the friendly ones.
It's true. And the changes, well, they weren't just skin deep.
Oh.
Behaviorally, these foxes, they started breeding more often, larger litters, and they had lower levels of stress hormones.
Less stress.
They even had higher serotonin levels,
The happy chemical.
Yeah.
So not just cute, but
Content.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Did they start doing, like, dog things?
Well, yeah.
I'm picturing, like, tea parties.
Maybe not tea parties, but their behavior did shift in
Diana.
a canine direction, yeah.
How so?
Wagging their tails, barking, even performing tricks.
Oh, wow.
All because of that focus on friendliness toward humans.
It's amazing how we can influence the evolution of a species.
Yeah, even unintentionally.
Makes you wonder about the implications.
It really does. And it leads us to something called self-domestication syndrome.
Okay.
So it's this. It's a proposed genetic condition that tries to explain these changes in domesticated animals. It's like a collection of traits that, well, they're great for living with us humans, but maybe not so advantageous in the wild.
So being cuddly and playful
comes at a price.
Yeah.
No way, yeah. Domestication syndrome is actually considered a disease in terms of survival in the wild.
Disease?
Well, you know.
Okay.
These appealing traits, docility, the lack of aggression, even the altered looks, it makes them, well, ill-equipped to survive on their own.
Right.
It's a trade-off, companionship, all those inducing features, but a loss of that wild, independent spirit.
This whole concept of domestication, it makes me think about us, humans.
Oh.
Like, could something similar have happened to us in our evolution?
The source material actually talks about that.
Does it?
It introduces the work of an anthropologist, Richard Wrangham.
Okay.
He proposes this concept of human self-domestication.
Human self-domestication?
Yeah. It's a fascinating parallel to the fox experiment.
So we might have unintentionally domesticated ourselves.
Impossible.
Okay, I gotta admit, that's a little mind-bending. How would that even work?
So Wrangham's theory, it's based on this idea that when early humans started forming those larger, more complex social groups, there was this pressure against, well, let's just say excessive aggression.
Okay, yeah.
So individuals who were more cooperative, less impulsive, better at controlling, those primal urges.
Right.
Well, they were more likely to thrive and reproduce in these close-knit communities.
So it wasn't a, like, conscious effort. It was more like those who got along.
Had a better chance of passing on their genes.
Exactly.
And over generations, this the subtle selection process, it could have led to changes in humans, physically and behaviorally.
Like what?
Well, Wrangham, he points to a reduction in certain facial features that are associated with aggression.
Okay.
Like prominent brow ridges, and like conversely, an increase in traits we associate with youthfulness, approachability.
Like what?
Like larger eyes, rounder faces.
So those features we find cute in babies could be a result of this.
Self-domestication process.
Wow.
It's a compelling argument, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And think about it. Those same cute features, they're what we find so endearing in domesticated animals.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. Subconsciously, we're drawn to signals of gentleness, a willingness to cooperate, both in our own species and the animals we choose to share our lives with.
So we might domesticate ourselves into being more appealing to each other.
Maybe.
Less intimidating, more inclined to collaborate.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
It opens up like a whole Pandora's box of questions about what it means to be human, how our social evolution has played out, and even the nature of our aesthetic preferences. So
if we are self-domesticated, where does that leave us? What does it mean for our future?
Well, he suggests that this self-domestication, it might be, ongoing.
No, still happening.
Yeah, like we as a species might keep evolving in ways that favor social harmony, cooperation.
So we're like on a path towards less conflict, more understanding.
It's a possibility.
Okay, that sounds kind of utopian. Everyone's just getting along, sign me up. But I guess there are, two sides to every coin. Are there any downsides to all this niceness?
Well, some researchers, they argue that a certain level of assertiveness, even like a little bit of that wild streak, it's necessary for progress, innovation.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, think about it. Like groundbreaking discoveries in science, art, social change.
Right.
They often come from those who, challenge the norms, push boundaries.
Right. If everyone's just focused on keeping the peace.
What's going to rock the boat?
Exactly. Too much, like conformity could stifle creativity, critical thinking.
But got it. So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
We want to embrace the benefits of self-domestication, that empathy, cooperation, community building.
Right.
But not lose those sparks of individuality, that drive, that make us, well, us.
Wow. This has been eye-opening, domestication. It's not just about, like, taming animals.
Right.
It's about how our genes, our behaviors, and the environment, how it's all shaped us.
It shaped us into the species we are today.
Yeah. It's a story. that's still being written.
Absolutely.
So we've covered the science of domestication, that surprising connection between uh, friendliness and cuteness,
Right.
and the, well, mind-blowing idea that we might have domesticated ourselves.
Yeah.
But before we get too lost in,
Yeah.
the big picture, let's bring it back down to earth.
Okay.
What's the takeaway for our listeners? Why should they care about all of this?
I think the most important thing is to remember that domestication, whether it's happening to, animals or to ourselves.
Right.
It's a multifaceted process. It's shaped us, and it still influences our evolution. Understanding it can give us insights into our behavior, our relationships with other species, and the choices we make for,
the future.
Exactly.
So it's not just an academic exercise.
Battle.
It's about understanding ourselves and our place in the world.
And maybe even using that knowledge to, shape a better future.
That's a great point. It's empowering to think that we have a say in our own evolution. But it comes with responsibility.
It does. We need to be mindful of, the traits we're selecting for in ourselves and the animals we live with. I mean, the future of our species, the planet, it depends on us finding that sweet spot between our domesticated selves and our wild selves.
And on that note, we're wrapping up our deep dive into the world of domestication.
Yes,
It's been a journey through genetics, behavior,
and the surprising power of cuteness.
Who knew puppy dog eyes held so many secrets?
Right. Until next time, keep those minds curious.
And remember, even in our domesticated world, a little bit of wild can go a long way.